Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the OR News broadcast. It's now time for our daily English news edition, weekdays at 6 p.m. The Conference of Chairmen included the Democratic Party requests in the parliamentary agenda today, but the opposition still abandoned the plenary session. The chairman of the Democratic Parliamentary Group, Eddie Paloka, spoke on behalf of the group, saying that the parliament will return to normalcy only when the majority accepts and adopts their requests. He said, "Our amendments aim to return legitimacy to the parliament. The majority must clearly show that it has the will to implement the laws it has adopted. The parliament cannot be decriminalized without political will, and Rama has clearly shown that he does not have the willpower," said Paloka. The Democrats have demanded the following amendments. Any official who is caught in the act of committing an offense must be suspended from duty until a court decision is made. The 3 MPs accused of violating the Constitution must be suspended, and the investigative committees must be established and functional. In regard to these 3 things, the Democrats claim that the majority has not honored the agreement made in December of 2014. The former Prime Minister Salih Berisha was even more harsh, accusing the Prime Minister of plunging the country into crime and corruption and turning the Socialist Party into a disgrace. He accused Rama of being connected to the mafia and said that he does not deserve to have a place in Parliament. At this point, the opposition stood up and left the plenary session, saying that they would return only to vote on the report by the Council of Mandates on the 3 MPs they want to terminate. The Prime Minister said that the opposition leaving was a sign of their own despair. He said that the 19 criminals they claim to be in Parliament are only figments of their fantasy and propaganda. He said, "They are leaving because there are no incriminated MPs in the left side of this Parliament. They are leaving because the decriminalization law is not discovering any criminals. They are leaving to go to the coffee bar. They are going, but they have no place to go," said Rama. In the absence of the opposition, the PJIU MP Vangel Dule spoke against the majority, claiming that there are in fact incriminated people in the parliament. The Socialist MP Ben Blushi commented on the refugee crisis in today's plenary session. He criticized the Albanian authorities, saying that the country should be showing compassion and keeping its borders open. "We cannot close the borders to the immigrants," he said. "The stance of the government has been ambiguous. Europe opened its borders for us 20 years ago. What would have happened if Europe had closed its borders? For this reason, we should not close our borders to anyone. We need to take a clear stance. We've accepted 3,000 mujahedin, so we should also accept the Syrian people who are leaving their country because of the war. Otherwise, we are being racist," said Blushi. The Minister of Interior responded that the Albanian government has not said that it will close the borders, only that it will give a unified response to the refugees from all EU countries. "This is a joint challenge," he said, "and we have asked for a joint solution to the refugee crisis. We cannot tolerate negligence in the name of humanism only to be exploited by terrorists. Regarding the mujahedin, there are not 3,000. This was an agreement made by the former government to defend those who need protection. We are showing solidarity in this case," said Tahiri. The Minister of Foreign Affairs agreed, saying that Albania's stance is not ambiguous. He said that Albania has only a modest capacity for refugees. The justice reform is still causing disagreement between the majority and the opposition over the correct method for following the Venice recommendations. After they did not reach a consensus in the first meeting of the Commission for Justice Reform, the chairman Fatmir Jafai sent a letter to the vice chairman Edward Halimi. In the letter, Mr. Jafai suggested a 7-step plan for implementing the recommendations. The majority insists that the work on the final draft should continue in the ad hoc commission and that later the lawmakers should find solutions to the issues on which there is still disagreement. Furthermore, the majority proposes that the advice of Euralius and OPDAT should be sought if there is a difference of opinion. OR News has obtained a copy of the correspondence between the 2 MPs. The Democratic vice chairman responded that Jafai's proposals are not rational. According to him, these suggestions have already been followed, but there have been no results. He proposed a method with 3 steps, which according to him would conclude the draft within 6 days. The Democrats proposed that the commission should gather as soon as possible to discuss the 10 issues raised by the opposition. After reaching a consensus and adopting these issues, a group of experts should be set up, made up of the representatives from the Socialist, Democratic, and Republican parties, the SMI, and OPDAT and Euralius. This group will draft the final constitutional amendments supported by the principles and criteria of the Venice Commission. In the letter, Vice Chairman Halimi says that the proposal of Chairman Jaffai will delay the process and hamper the justice reform. The Democratic Chairman Lulzim Basha is currently in Kosovo holding meetings with the state officials. Speaking after a meeting with the Kosovo Assembly Speaker, Basha said that the opposition in Albania is making efforts to resolve its problems with within the legal framework. He announced that he is hoping for a stronger Kosovo with a consolidated rule of law and institutional cooperation with Albania. He said, "We aim to deepen the cooperation between Albania's opposition and Kosovo's government. We exchanged our viewpoints on the political situation in both countries. I expressed my conviction that deeper cooperation will serve the interests of both Albania and Kosovo," said Basha. On his part, the Assembly Speaker Kadri Vaseli appreciated Basha's contribution to the Republic of Kosovo. He said that there were no issues dividing them, adding that their own opposition should follow the example of the Albanian opposition. Basha also met with the mayor of Pristina, Mr. Ahmeti, to discuss the current political developments. He met with the president, the prime minister, and the new president-elect, Hashim Thaçi, as well as various opposition members. The construction of the new boulevard in Tirana has again caused a physical clash between the residents of the train station area and the police officers. A group of residents threatened to light themselves on fire if their houses are demolished and began throwing projectiles at the police officers. The residents of the train station area are against the demolition of their homes and have been trying to stop the Inspectorate for the Protection of the Territory. 5 women were injured during the conflict and 3 young men were arrested for assaulting police officers. Despite the rejection of the residents, the National Inspectorate for the Protection of the Territory has begun the demolition process. They will be demolishing 10 houses and businesses that are in the path of the boulevard. The residents have refused to accept the compensation offered to them by the government, saying that it's nowhere near enough according to the current market prices. The City Hall has reacted to the issue, saying that the compensation value was set up according to a decision by the government and that the City Hall has no power to change the amount of compensation. The city is open to discussion with the families and has offered them social housing. The Assembly Speaker Ilir Meta held a meeting today with the head of the IMF mission and other IMF representatives, including the resident rep for Tirana, Jens Renke. They discussed the progress of the agreement between the IMF and the Albanian government and the economic climate in the country. Meta briefed the IMF reps on the agenda of the reforms, saying that the justice reform is essential for the business climate and for increasing the confidence of the foreign investors. He said, "The economic situation in Europe obligates Albania to enhance the management of public finances. It is necessary to increase the efficiency of economic policies in the country. We must deepen the cooperation with the IMF for the progress of economic reforms," said Mr. Meta. Thanks again for choosing Aura News as your source for updates in English. Have a great night and see you tomorrow.